Jewish people, and all of us originally.
This is Storybook Radio.
Chapter 2: The Price of Survival. I pedaled through the winding streets of the quiet place, feeling the smooth brick beneath my tires glide effortlessly beneath me. Everything about the town felt deliberate, like it had been designed for peace, for quiet. The paths and buildings looked as though they were crafted to make the world feel still, unhurried. On either side of the road, miniature apple trees lined the street, their thin branches heavy with small green apples. They stretched upward, the leaves moving gently in the wind, creating a soft rustling that blended with the otherwise tranquil atmosphere. The apples hung from the branches like little green jewels, catching the sunlight, giving the town a touch of life amid its stillness. My stomach growled loudly, breaking the peaceful silence around me. The smell of fresh bread from a nearby bakery mixed with the savory scent of pizza from a restaurant just ahead. My hunger had been growing steadily since I arrived, but now it felt unbearable. The peaceful atmosphere of the quiet place made my frustration more intense, only making me more annoyed that I didn't even know how to get food here. I adjusted my name tag, the plain white one that just said Sky, and parked my bike by a lamppost, feeling the weight of my growing hunger pressing against me. The streets lined with old-fashioned street lamps and buildings with intricate ironwork were so quiet. It was like the entire town had been frozen in time. I was starting to feel more and more like I was in a strange, forgotten world. I walked toward the pizzeria, trying to ignore the sense of unease crawling up my spine. The door jingled softly as I pushed it open, stepping inside, but immediately I felt something was off. The pizzeria was empty. The tables that should have been bustling with chatter stood still and silent. There wasn't a soul in sight. The walls, adorned with rustic wood and brick, gave the place a welcoming feel, but the absence of noise made everything seem eerily quiet. I glanced around, wondering why no other campers seemed to be here. Every other restaurant I'd passed had been just as empty, and it made the air feel a little too still, like something was waiting to happen. I walked up to the counter, trying to shake off the strange feeling that had settled over me. Behind the counter, a crook appeared. Cloaked in black robes and a crow mask, the crook stood motionless, not saying a word, just watching me. The stillness of his presence only made everything feel even more off. I pulled out a crisp $20 bill, determined to eat. "I'll take a slice of pepperoni, please," I said, placing the bill on the counter, expecting the usual transaction. But the crook didn't even react to the money. He just gave a slow, deliberate nod and said, in a voice as flat as the mask he wore, 15 points. I froze, a sinking feeling hitting me like a ton of bricks. "What?" 15 points, the crook repeated, his voice unchanged. My stomach clenched. "What do you mean? $15, right?" I held up the bill, feeling it almost burn in my hand. "No," the crook said, his face still hidden behind the mask. 15 book tokens, not dollars. My head spun. "What the hell?" My voice rose, unable to keep my frustration in check. "I've got money. Why can't I just buy the food?" The crook didn't even flinch. "No money here, only book tokens," he said, his tone flat and mechanical. I felt a surge of anger boil over. This was ridiculous. I was starving, and I couldn't even pay for a damn slice of pizza. What kind of place is this? My dad didn't tell me anything about money not working here. If my mom knew about this, she never would have let me come. My stomach growled again, louder this time, reminding me just how much I needed food. But it wasn't just hunger that burned now, it was frustration. The entire system here seemed designed to frustrate you, to make sure you never had what you needed when you needed it. I shoved the bill back into my pocket, feeling more confused and angry by the second. Without another word, I turned on my heel and stormed out of the pizzeria. I couldn't deal with this now. I needed answers, and maybe the library would give me some. As I walked through the streets, still processing everything that had just happened, a voice crackled overhead from the intercom system. "At 7 o'clock, we commune." I stopped dead in my tracks. Commune? What did that even mean? Was it some kind of camp ritual? Was I supposed to gather with everyone at 7? My mind was reeling with questions, but before I could even begin to make sense of it all, a voice broke my thoughts. "New?" I turned to see a boy about my age walking up to me. He was looking at me with a knowing expression, like he already understood what I was going through. "Yeah," I said, still rattled by everything. "How could you tell?" The boy grinned. "Saw you turn around at the pizza shop. You're new, all right. Don't worry, I've been in your shoes. I'm Jeffrey, by the way, second-year camper." He stuck out his hand with an easy grin. "I can help you out. Let's go to the library. You look like you need some answers." I exhaled, feeling the weight of everything crash down on me. I could use all the help I can get. Jeffrey didn't waste any time. He led the way as we walked toward the library. "You see that test generator machine?" he asked, nodding toward a building with tall, arched windows. Ivy crept up the stone facade, giving the building an old, mysterious feel. "That's your key to surviving here. You'll need it." "The machine inside?" I asked, confused. "What does it do?" "It's an AI test generator," Jeffrey explained, his tone matter of fact. "It's like a jukebox, but instead of playing music, it prints out tests based on what you've read." I stared at him, trying to process. "You mean I have to take tests to eat?" Jeffrey grinned. "Pretty much. You enter the books you've read into the machine, tell it how many pages, and then it spits out a multiple-choice test. You get a grade, and based on your score, you earn book tokens. Those tokens are how you buy everything here. Food, drinks, everything. Without tokens, you don't survive." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. "So, just reading a book isn't enough? You have to take a test to prove you read it?" "Exactly," Jeffrey said, nodding. "It's about verification. You can't just read. You've got to prove you know what you read. That's how the system works here." I swallowed hard. "I didn't know any of this. My dad never told me." Jeffrey glanced over at me. "Yeah, well, it's part of the rules. We're not supposed to talk about it with outsiders. It's protocol. Your dad probably kept quiet for a reason." That revelation hit me harder than I expected. My dad had known all along, but hadn't told me a thing about how this place worked. No wonder he was so secretive. "The good news is," Jeffrey continued, "you haven't missed much. The testing periods are every day, and you can catch up. It's all about how fast you can read and test. Those who do well, they get what they need." I felt my heart sink. I'd missed the first examination period, but honestly, I was too tired to think about that now. I was just focused on getting through the day, and maybe, just maybe, finding a way to eat. Jeffrey led me back to the pizza shop, where he handed me a handful of bronze coins. "These are book tokens. 15 points will get you something to eat. I was in your position last summer. No points, no food. Had to link up with someone who knew the ropes." I gratefully accepted the tokens. "Thanks, Jeffrey. I owe you one." "Nah, you'll pay it forward," Jeffrey said with a smile. "That's how it works here." We sat down at a table, and I eagerly took a bite of the pizza. It was warm, cheesy, and satisfying, the best thing I'd eaten in what felt like forever. But across from me, Jeffrey had already finished his slice, barely pausing to breathe. "Damn, you eat fast," I said, watching him wipe his mouth. He shrugged. "You get used to it. Time's always ticking here. You don't waste any." I continued eating, trying to catch up with him. My mind was still swirling with questions, but at least I had a slice of pizza now. "So, how does the point system work exactly? Thought they would tell us this at orientation, but it seems like the contest has already started." Jeffrey leaned back in his chair, finishing his slice with ease. 100,000 words equals 100 points. A full book is worth 100 points too. Last year's winner racked up 5,200 points. That's 52 books. 52 books? I said, my eyes wide. And they tested on all of them? Perfect scores on all the tests, Jeffrey said with a grin. That's how you win here. I stared at him, my mind still struggling to wrap around the concept. I can't even imagine reading that many books. Well, you better start imagining, Jeffrey said with a chuckle. You don't want to be the one left behind. I glanced down at the shiny bronze tokens in my hand. They felt heavier now, and the weight of everything was starting to sink in. So, these book tokens, they're used for food and everything else? Yeah, you'll need them for pretty much everything. Water, food, books, all of it. I looked at my name tag, shaking my head sarcastically. I guess I'm learning everything the hard way. We finished our meal, and as soon as Jeffrey was done, he stood up quickly. Don't mean to rush, but we need to hurry. I blinked, confused. For what? We'll be late for orientation. I frowned. But it's 7. That's 5 hours from now. Jeffrey looked at me seriously, his gaze locking on mine. Are you crazy? Orientation isn't something you go to. It's something you find. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. Find? What did he mean? What had I gotten myself into?